So we were going to have a discussion today on an article in Psychology Today, when your values are at war, why you don't need to choose. And I'm sure Michael, with his philosophical consistency, conceptual consistency, which I admire greatly, I have to say, is going to help us through this article. Because Michael, there was a lot I liked about it, but there was a lot of formulations I didn't like, to be honest with you. And I almost wanted to go through it paragraph by paragraph with people. First of all, I want to get a poll of all the folks up here in the gallery. How many of you actually read the article? Be honest with me. If you are lying, I will know it. Oh, okay. We have some hands raising here. Let me see it. Let me go through the rest of the. Yes, thumbs up. Katie, you didn't read the article. Katie, you did not read the article. Oh, maybe she did. I don't know. Okay, so um, I liked the punchline of the article, Mike. What did you think of the punchline, which was essentially, when you perceive values to be in conflict with each other, you have to assess them and reorder yourself and reorder your life in such a way as to be able to do both. In other words,
Can we
using
go
your
through the thing? Can we go?
yeah,
Because I don't want to.
using your you don't want to skip to the punchline.
No, I mean, I don't want to go to the end because I want to actually take the article piece by
Yeah, but I
piece.
like eating dessert before I eat my meal.
Well, that's why you think it's okay to punch people in the face
I
because
don't think it's
everything's
okay. I
backwards.
don't think it's
All right,
generally okay to punch people in the face. I think it is
listen.
sometimes okay to punch people in the face. I think
What if you have
sometimes
a,
the only way to get through to
okay,
some people is to punch them in the mouth.
okay.
That's it.
What you still don't really get through. What if you were on a plane and somebody was just so
Michael, it got
offended? What if I got a
if I'm on
question?
a
If you're
yes,
on a plane and
yes.
somebody does not like the fact that you've been wearing the same shirt for a week and you have an offensive odor on the plane, and so that person punches you, is that okay?
I would not think that's okay because I'm not really like deliberately aggressing against the person. I could have a physical problem that I can't control,
No,
and
you're
he's making
choosing to keep
he's
a
making
shirt on without
assumptions.
watching it. You're choosing
I
it. You're not
washed
washing.
myself, and that's what
No, but
matters.
the shirt is not being washed. Okay, this is the problem. Okay.
Because
So
I
the
didn't want to wash the love out of it, Michael.
well, that love is starting to have an odor. So maybe
And you know what? Love with an odor is a good thing. So I would hope my neighbor would appreciate that. I hope he'd look
let's
at me
get a
and say,
quote.
"What's
We're
that
gonna get
stink?"
that.
I hope he'd look at me and say, "What's that stink?" I'd say, "It's this shirt." What does it say? Frankie, established 2006. He was the love of my life. He died 3 months
Frankie
ago. So I'm
rocked.
wearing this shirt, right? And he'd look at me and say, "Oh, wow. Okay, I get it. I'm going to deal with the stink because I understand you."
But but so
I
so
gave
then can't.
Kinsella, I gave Kinsella enough chances, so I had
But
to
what if
give him.
Kinsella has Tourette's? We don't know. Okay. Anyway, so
All right,
the
should I start reading this article because I want
I
to
was
get
gonna
your
take I
thoughts.
was gonna do it because I know how to focus on what's relevant.
Okay, go ahead. Manu,
So
don't give the
it's
thumbs up
not
when you
Manu,
say
it's Manu.
I said
Manu.
Manu. Manu, do not give him the thumbs up and encourage him when he says he knows how to focus on what's relevant.
I
Don't
do
do
though.
that.
No, I
No,
do
no,
though.
you're
And
encouraging him. It's all wrong. Don't do it.
no, you need to, it's called justice. You need to encourage what's right in this world. Okay, so listen. Values, the guy says values, this is where it's from the start. Values are inherently subjective and legitimately plural. Different people hold different values without anyone being wrong. More importantly, the same person holds multiple values that sometimes pull in opposite directions. There's so much wrong with the opening paragraph. So, first of all, values are
Wait,
not
that
in what?
uh go ahead. I'm trying to find exactly where you are in the article, but it doesn't matter. I'll just listen to what you're saying.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because I
So,
agree with you. I agree with you. There was so much wrong with that opening paragraph, it
yeah,
frightened me.
that's the main. That's not the opening paragraph of the entire thing. That's the opening paragraph of the fundamental analysis. So here's the problem. First of all, values are not inherently subjective. Values are objective and to be judged according to life as the standard, to human life, my life as the standard, your life as the standard. So first of all, he's wrong there. Then he says different people hold different values without anyone being wrong. Well, that can be true, but not make them subjective. So, for instance, Mark is going to place a high value on his wife. She has objective value to him. She does not have that value to me. So therefore, we have different values, and neither one of us is wrong, but they're still objective when measured to a given standard. The fact that we value different things doesn't render them subjective. And then the same person holds multiple values that sometimes pull in opposite directions. Again, that doesn't mean that they're subjective. What it means, and he actually gets to this, is that they may be, first of all, they might be in conflict because one is wrong and one is right. That's the first thing. So, for instance, I might have a goal to be healthy, but I also have a value of eating Whoppers. The Whopper value is wrong because it's counter to my health and well being as a human being. But really, what it's about, and this is what we're going to get into, so I'm going to maybe give a little hint, is when that happens, one, we have to eliminate the values that are actually harmful to us, but it may just require a proper ordering of values to demonstrate what is more important at a given time to so that we know what we should be doing. Okay. So now I'll turn it on over to you. Now you can
Now, I
take
don't
it.
know if you were going to get to this, Michael, but he also said something that disturbed me, that values were the result of one's culture, upbringing, experiences, yada yada. He made it as if every person is in a state of drift, and values are determined by all these exterior factors, and that's not entirely so. I mean, the title of the show is "Self-Made Soul." That literally means you choose your values. Now, certainly, you can absorb values from your culture that can conflict with values that you've come to consciously embrace, in which case you have to do what Michael says. You have to choose the ones that are right, that are good for your life, the ones that are good for your life as a rational being. And when those kinds of conflicts happen. So I don't like that he made values sort of deterministic in nature as well, and a matter of opinion. So he was they were subjective and deterministic at the same time, which bothered me.
All right. So the guy, and I agree with you, by the way. So he goes on to say that many therapeutic approaches emphasize value clarification. Now, when I ran groups in prison, self-help groups, part of it was value clarification. You need to clarify your values, understand what they are, get rid of the ones that are bad, emphasize the ones that are good, and rank them hierarchically so that you know what is actually takes priority. But he says in values based living, he said this helps when the problem is lack of clarity, when someone has lost touch with what matters. But for clients like Sarah, value clarification makes things worse. She doesn't need help identifying her values, she needs help ordering them when they conflict. Now, this is just word games. Because to me, value clarification means recognizing the order of importance. It doesn't just mean recognizing what your values are, it means recognizing where you put them in their hierarchy so that you can then address the hierarchy if it's malfunctioning. And then he goes on to say this is where we need to move beyond values level to the level of abstraction, operating not through emotionally held beliefs about what matters to us personally, but through principles that reflect fundamental truths about human flourishing. So he first says that values are subjective. Now he says, in order to rank our values, we need to go beyond values to principles about human flourishing. But he implies that that in itself is a value. But if all values are subjective, then human flourishing is subjective, and his entire approach breaks down.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the end, he sort of agrees with Rand's hierarchy of values and how you have to
He
evaluate
does,
your
but you're jumping
life.
way ahead. See, this is why I needed to choose the
I'm
article
eating the dessert
when I
before
needed
the
to
dinner.
choose. Yes, you need to focus
So
on where we are.
but you're right. This article is filled with contradictions, which I hope everybody in the gallery did notice, since you are becoming acquainted with objectivist philosophy, or maybe just you're just completely rational. You don't need Rand's guidance. You just noticed that things didn't quite add up the way they should. But if you become acquainted with the objectivist outlook on what values are, I think you would notice lots of inconsistencies here that are confusing. They're confusing, frankly. Michael, but don't I hate to say this, but I oftentimes when I read articles or books, I think that books could be about a third of their length, and articles could be a third of their length if they just got to the point. Where guys like this, they write excessively just to fill up a page. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So he now relies on Plato, and I read The Republic a quarter century ago. I do not remember the discussion of the mean. The discussion of the mean that I'm familiar with is Aristotle's in the
Aristotle.
Nicomachean Nicomachean Ethics. He discusses the mean. I don't remember Plato doing it, but the way he describes a mean doesn't really seem like a mean anyway. But he says the principle is proper ordering isn't choosing one value in over another, but finding the right measure of each, fleeing excesses in either direction. So the point is to put your values in proper order. Now, he does, though, you don't have to choose one over the other, which is palpably false. In any given moment, if the values are contrary to each other, then yes, I do have to choose one. I can't act on both at the same time. The nature of reality doesn't allow it. What I can do is put them in order, set priorities. So, for instance, I might say if I'm married, um, which I'm not, but if I'm married, I would say, okay, my wife is my top priority. That doesn't mean I have to spend every waking hour with my wife, because if I did, I'd probably soon not be her top priority. Her top priority would be to get me the frick out of the house, right? Or get me somewhere. But she could still be my top priority. So I set aside all the time that I need with her. And I say, that's good. My next priority might be my career. So I set aside time for that. Doing both at the same time conflicts, but I can order them so that I'm spending time on the things that matter, and I'm devoting the appropriate amount of time, the appropriate amount of effort to pursuing each value. That ultimately is the conclusion that the guy comes to. He just gets there through some cockamamie reasoning. I think we need to bring back that word too, by the way, cockamamie.
Cockamamie has never left. It's never
No,
left.
it has. Nobody uses cockamamie anymore.
I use it all the time.
When? I'm with you every day almost. I've never heard you
But
use
you're
it
not
even
with me
once.
every hour of the day.
So what is it? Only when you're not around me, when you're not talking
I'm
for a
with you
living,
like
you're running
I'm
around
with you
telling
like the
everybody
first.
things are
I'm with you.
cockamamie?
Yeah, sure. I'm with you like the first hour of the day, and then after that, I'm saying cockamamie all the time.
You're just running around the judo house yelling cockamamie?
That was a cockamamie throw.
It was. It
What the
was.
fuck was that? That was cockamamie of you.
Listen, Subby, I don't think Subby was able to find his way in here. We have all these pretty women in the audience, and I'm guessing you're going to take credit. You and your supernatural bona fides are going to take credit for all the pretty women. They're not here for me. They're just here for supernatural. I could take that, though. I could live with that.
I don't even know what to say to that, Michael. So I mean, yeah, this article makes
Focus.
this article makes me feel like psychology is just in the dark ages. Because I mean, Rand had this sorted out fucking 60 years ago, bro, with the hierarchy of values and with her definition of values, and and it seems like this guy's trying to reinvent the wheel, or at least psychology is trying to reinvent the wheel. If there's, like you said, if there's a conflict between values, it's a matter of ordering them and or weeding out the values that are not for your life, using your life always as a rational being as the standard of what values are good for you and what are not values for you. It's plain and simple. That's it.
So, yeah. So this client of his is referring to her career and her family, and says the conflict doesn't go away. I still feel the pull in both directions, but now I'm not trying to eliminate one or treat it as a problem to solve. I gotta say, I don't know that there's a single human being on this planet, or certainly none that I've met, that in a situation where they have a job and a family looks to eliminate one, right? I
Right.
think it's
Well,
almost
there
like
are people.
common sense that you need to prioritize properly.
Unfortunately, we live in a world where people don't necessarily prioritize. So they have a family, but they prioritize their career in such a way as to work 120 hours a week and leave their family behind. Prioritizing, look, to me, Michael, life is an art, and being able to prioritize your life in such a way as to give time enough for your family so that you're nurturing them and nurturing that aspect of your life, and at the same time being a top level professional. That's an extremely difficult balancing act to perform. Most people cannot do it because I think it's an art. But you can start, I think, by adopting Rand's hierarchy of values and living according to those. What is this? Katrin, what was that?
What
What is
was
this?
what?
I
I
keep
don't know
seeing
what you're
these.
talking about.
Oh, people. I keep getting these signs of people signing in or something.
What?
Nothing. I'm getting.
You're
I'm getting.
seeing the people making their chat? Is that what you're seeing?
No, no. I'm seeing
People
something else.
commenting?
Lou, what am I seeing here? Like, I'm seeing like Katie location time sign in to use this see this profile. I'm seeing these big signs flash
What do you
across my
have? Some kind of a
screen.
stalker app that tells you where everybody is?
No, but I want to say Katrin did say she's here for me and not for you.
Katrin.
Katrin, sorry, I know I fucked it up. Katrin, I did it again, but she said she was here for me and not for you.
Of course she did. But anyways,
I'm
he then
lying,
he
Michael. I lied. I lied. She said
I
she's
know
here
what
for
she
both of us.
actually said. I saw it. I'm here. I can read. But can
Okay.
we get to the thing? Okay. So he has this odd thing where he says this is the difference between values and principles. Values create tension, principles provide the organizing framework for living well within that tension. Um, for me, the standard of objective value that is my life, I guess in a way you could say that that's the organizing principle. So in that sense, maybe he's correct. Um, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
but
But
do
he
you
goes
think
on.
there's always a tension? Do you think there's always a tension between a standard, let's say a standard of value and what you actually are
No, no, that's
valuing?
not what he's saying. He's saying there's a tension between values, but principles help to organize those values
Yeah, but
hierarchically.
but I don't agree that there's a tension between values.
Well, give me an example.
Well, no, I mean, if there's, let me put it this way: if there is a tension between values, the tension either requires a reordering or an elimination of one of the
Okay,
values.
yes, I would agree.
But
You don't have to be,
I don't think it's
you don't have to
a
experience
natural
tension.
state of tension, right? I don't think there's a
Okay, I
natural state.
agree with you there. I agree. Um, So this is what he says. This is the practical application. He says there's three. How many? Let me make sure. No, he's got 5 steps. First, recognize you're at a values conflict. Both values are legitimate. You're not confused. You're accurately perceiving genuine goods that compete for limited resources. I think that's good advice. Second, resist the false choice. You don't need to choose one value over another or resolve which is more important. That's Codswallop. You absolutely do. Otherwise, you have no basis on which to organize your hierarchy. Now, just because you've ranked one value as more important does not mean that all your attention goes to that. It's like marginal utility in economics. You don't have to choose all or of one or all of the other. You can order your time. Third, he says, apply the principle of the mean. What's the right measure of each value? Well, that entails doing what he says you should not do up above. You don't have to choose one over the other. So you do in a sense. You don't have to choose one to eliminate the other, but in terms of time, you do have to choose one over the other. What arrangement preserves and benefits your whole life versus what destroys through excess or deficiency? I think that's a fair question. Finally, accept the ongoing tension. Proper ordering doesn't eliminate conflict, it creates a sustainable relationship within that conflict. In a sense, I agree with that, Mark. In a sense, I agree with you because there's gonna come times where it's like, oh, what do I do? And you have to go through it again. It's not like you just one time order your values and then for the rest of your life everything just flows smoothly, right? Conflicts
Correct.
do come up, and that's when you do have to apply the overarching principle, life as the standard of value, of moral value, to set your
But
priorities.
he acts as if it's a constant state that you have to live with. In other words, you just have to adjust yourself to this
Right, right,
constant tension between
right.
values and
It's not
principles.
right.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that. Although I do think you have to
No,
live
no,
with.
it's not between, again, Mark,
No, no,
the
I know
conflict.
what you, I know what you, I misstated it, but
Okay.
again, I think we do have to live with, if we're growing human beings and we're trying to be value oriented, you do have to live with a certain degree of discomfort. That's for sure, because you're questioning premises all the times. When you're trying to grow as a human being, you put yourself in uncomfortable positions a lot, right? So I think there's a degree of discomfort that you have to become to get used to if you want to keep pushing boundaries
Yeah,
and keep changing and keep moving forward. But I wouldn't call that the kind of tension that he's talking about.
I agree with you. So you're right.
So, I mean, I think you've killed that article completely. You've knocked it on its ass and then beat it while it was on the ground into submission. So, are there any questions from the
I hope
gallery?
there's questions. I love questions from the gallery.
I see questions forming on many people's faces. Mark, please say hello to who? Oh, to Bree. Hi, Bree.
Who the
Hi,
hell is
Bree.
Bree? Who's
I don't know.
Bree?
That was from Subby, and I'm not sure what Bree he's talking about.
Oh, I get it. He wanted you to say hello to somebody he's with. I thought you two knew somebody named Bree, and he wanted you to tell him he said hi. And I'm like, who the hell is Bree, and why am I unaware of this?
He's at the mall. She works at the store here. Well, tell her I said hi. Tell her Michael. More importantly, that Michael Liebowitz said hi, because that's why everybody's here.
What if he says that to her and she says, "You mean the felon?" Like,
No,
what?
no. She says, "You mean the guy who wrote View from a Cage? Oh my
She might
God.
say that. Yeah,
You mean that
might say that.
brilliant dude who has that show called Rational Egoist that I watch every day without fail?"
And
Yes. Oh my
and
God.
everyday ethics is,
Who's the creepy dude with the big glasses? Get him out of there.
dude. If they were gonna say, "Hi, Laura," if they were gonna say, "Who's that dude with the creepy?" It wouldn't be the glasses they referenced. Let's get that right.
Okay, it's the mustache. I know it's the mustache. But guess what, folks? Here's a little spoiler
How do
alert
you
for you.
prioritize the shaving of the mustache?
I
Let's
don't
take today's
prioritize it.
lesson. Well,
Okay,
it's
I
got to go
don't
at some
prioritize
point.
it. I do not shave at all. I let them handle the mustache. So I don't do anything. And when I get into the makeup trailer, they shave me completely. Not
Completely?
completely. Not completely. I knew you were going to go there. I shouldn't have said that, for fuck's sake. I forget what kind of mind you have. They shave my face completely.
That's not what you said. Don't try to
I
clean it
know I
up.
didn't say that
Hold
because
on
I
a second.
forgot
Okay.
who I was
All right. So
dealing
let
with.
me ask you this. So when they shave you in your unmentionables, do they use a Bic? I mean, what's going on here? Is it an
A
electric
Bic.
trimmer? Yeah, is it a blade? What are they using?
They use electrical equipment on me.
All right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that your values are prioritized so you're not allowing them to put sharp
Laura's
razors.
saying, Mike is saying what we all think. You all have dirty minds. All of your minds are in the gutter.
Dude,
But I
you're
wanted,
the one talking about them
listen,
shaving your private areas
I
when you're
want,
on set.
I
I don't know
didn't
what you're
talk
talking
about
about.
shaving my private areas. I said they shaved me completely, forgetting that I had a
Yeah.
bunch of perverts here in front of me.
No,
Of course, I'm a pervert too, but I didn't
Codswallop.
even go there. I didn't even go there, Michael.
I
Listen,
wish I
I,
God, I wish we had out of context for that, just to have you up there saying I'm a pervert too. I would love that if I could just blast that everywhere. That'd be
I
great.
am too innocent for a 60-year-old. I mean, Manu is right. I am too innocent for a 60-year-old. I definitely have that characteristic.
It's
Look, I
because you're
wanted to
an
say
actor.
probably well, yeah, well, yes. I've adopted acting because of my innocence. I can't say that because there's a lot of
E-
freaky freaks in acting that who are not
Either
innocent.
way, what we need are good questions from the audience
Yeah, so
on values
please,
and principles, not on Mark's shaving habits or whatever other weirdo thing
well,
he's
you
got
asked me
going on.
about how they deal with the mustache. What I do is I go into the makeup trailer and they shave my
I
face
never asked
completely,
you that.
and then they trim it
No,
because my
who asked
mustache
you?
gets. You
Mark, no
did.
one asked you how they deal with the mustache. I never asked you that. I
You didn't you
promise.
ask me?
No, I didn't say. I said, how do you decide when to shave the mustache? Not
Oh,
how do they deal with your mustache?
I don't shave it. I don't touch it.
You never
That's
touch your mustache.
no,
So you don't
no.
do like this occasionally.
Oh my God. All right. So are there any questions, comments, or concerns about the article, folks, or comments or concerns about the conversation as it is devolving at this very moment? I certainly have questions,
I
but
don't want to hear questions about this topic. You talk about innocent. This is like messing me all up. From the other day, you're telling me about Ian McClellan or whatever the hell his name is. You've told me about Rod Steiger. The amount of male actors you've seen naked, I find very
I
disturbing.
never saw Ian McKellen naked.
You
I'm just
said you
telling.
saw him naked.
I didn't see Ian McKellen naked.
Who's the
I
guy
said
that was in? Who's the guy that did King Lear?
Ian McKellen.
You said you saw him naked.
I did not. I said he had it in his contract that when he was on the moors, he had to be completely naked,
And
and
you
that no,
said you saw it because you
I did
described his
not say I
nakedness. All
saw
right.
it. I
All
did
right. Well,
not
I
say
don't
I
know then
saw
how
it.
you know, unless you're talking with other people,
I
gossiping.
know a lot of
Either,
things that I don't directly see, Michael,
all right.
because
Well,
I
I
have
don't want to talk about
friends
that.
who have witnessed it.
Okay. There's
Okay,
two questions in the chat. Can we see what's happening with the questions?
go
Or
ahead.
maybe we can get them out here. I like it when they They come online.
There's three questions now. Manu should be
I see two. Where's
coordinating
what do you
these.
mean three? What three do you use? Why should Manu be coordinating?
Well, she seems to know there are
Oh,
now
okay,
three
Lou.
questions.
Okay, so here's the first question. What do you think most people get wrong about values? Well, that's a good question, actually. I don't know um, what most people get wrong. I will say something that I've come across frequently, though, that people get wrong. A lot of people do. I don't know about most, but I'll talk to somebody and they'll say, "Oh, that's just what I was always taught." My parents taught me that way, as if that's a discussion ender, as if the fact that your parents taught you something means that it's unquestionable. I think that's an extremely dangerous approach to take. It's putting their minds in the place of reality, and one definitely shouldn't do it. My counter to that is always, well, my parents taught me to be violent. So then should I just continue to be violent and say my parents taught me that way? Of course not. So that's something that I experience people getting wrong with values is they think because their upbringing or what their parents taught them, what they learned in the neighborhood, they think that those values are almost like locked in place.
Yeah, and I would say something similar to that. I would say that they think their values are unquestionable primaries, like their emotions are unquestionable primaries, or that their emotions are tools of cognition. But the values should be questioned, particularly if they're leading you down the wrong path, making you unhappy, or making you constantly do things that are against your life's interests. So they're things to be questioned, and some people look at them as if they're not. Or they define them, Michael, as the conservatives do, as you said, as things that the culture gives us, things that we learned from our parents. And because they come from tradition, they're unquestionable. Because they've been around for a long time, that means they are true. Their very longevity makes them a truth, as opposed to, well, just because the thing's been around a long time, it doesn't make it beyond question, right? Slavery was around since the beginning of civilization.
Right.
It didn't make it right. And it took men questioning it in the 17th and 18th centuries to actually end an institution that had been with us from the very beginning. So, yeah, the fact that people think some values are unquestionable or should are beyond question because they've been around for a long time, that's one of my biggest bugaboos.
I
What's
think
the
the next
second
time I go to
question?
California, I'm gonna stay in LA.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you
That's what
stay
I'm
here.
thinking.
You can
Oh, that'd
stay
be
here.
great. I'm thinking I
Yeah.
want to see you because this last time it was a fiasco. I couldn't get out there. I don't know. I was just thinking about that as I'm
Just
sitting
don't
here.
worry if I knock on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning.
You're not going to come with a shaver, are you?
I might. Just don't be freaked out. You hear a little
That will
knock
freak me out. That will
two
freak
o'clock
me
in
out.
the
That's
morning.
weird. All right. Okay. Nicole Hingle says, "What is something you wish more people cared about?" Reason. I wish more
Absolutely.
people were concerned with the epistemological processes that they use, with the methods that they engage in, with the contents of their own minds. That's what I wish more people cared about.
Absolutely, reason. A reason used to be a primary. I think in during the American Enlightenment, I think most people would say reason was their ideal, and a rational man was their ideal. Nowadays, we live in an emotionalistic society where people think emotions are, as Rand would say, tools of cognition. Actors certainly do. The 200 actors that signed that petition to free that terrorist, they're going by their feels. They're not going by their. They're not thinking their way through their ethics at all. And they've become rich, not thinking their way through their ethics, but feeling their way through everything. So yeah, I wish reason would become primary again in people's lives.
Manu says, I also think that most people don't think long term, but rather from moment to moment. A lot of people certainly. Subby has invited himself to your place. That's cool.
Subby could come here too. So by the way, Michael, I think the culture also promotes that, right? Eckhart Tolle, J. Krishnamurti, all these thinkers that people turn to for
Oh my
guidance with
goodness
respect to
gracious, that guy.
how to live. Yeah, they're all about being in the moment, living at the
Yeah,
level of the perceptual. Like what people don't seem to understand is when you're living from moment to moment, you're living at the perceptual level of consciousness. That's not a higher level of living.
yeah.
It may relieve you temporarily of the responsibility of thought, but you can't escape that responsibility, in your life. So I don't like the fact that people are encouraged, and in acting they do this too. You're taught to live moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, right? And that's how you learn to listen, which is it's a great tool, and it focuses your attention. Exactly, Katie, that's probably you. You might want to mute your microphone. It's a great tool for learning to listen in the moment, but it's not the way you have to live your life. Don't reduce yourself to the perceptual level of living, to the now and only the now. All right, live in the moment for sure, but also have the context of your full life somewhere in there.
You know,
Otherwise you're going to totally fuck yourself up.
Eckhart Tolle wrote that book, The Power of Now, and
Yes, which I read.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Let me just tell you something. Somebody told me when I was in prison that I absolutely had to read this book. It was their favorite self-help book. I've made it through John Maynard Keynes' General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money.
Oh
I
my
made
God,
it
that's
through. I
crazy.
made it through Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason. I've read
Oh
War
my
and
God,
Peace and
that's
Les
that's even
Miserables.
worse.
I could not make it through The Power of Now. I said, this is so ridiculous, so divorced from reality. This guy is not saying anything. Like how anybody could think that that is wisdom. I think that what happens is some people, when they see something that they don't understand, they don't assume that it's the person. They say, oh, this guy's brilliant. It must be me.
But I think Eckhart is just. I think Eckhart is
Eckhart,
just.
you know him?
Yeah. For now, I'm just going to say Eckhart. But I think he's
Mandy's
just.
got her hand up.
Hold
I
it.
just
Number
want,
one, I think he's simple, and I think he offers a easy solution for people, Michael, and that's what they want when they're looking for spiritual growth. What they're really looking for is the magic pill. Like when actors ask me in class, "How do I be successful?" and I tell them the very unromantic thing that, well, you got to work hard. You simply just have to work hard. You have to study your craft as if it's like any other craft, and then eventually the opportunity and your capacity are going to collide with each other, or they may not, but you can't avoid the hard facts that you have to rehearse all the time. You have to constantly keep working your imagination, and they glaze over in their eyes, Michael, and they look at me like I'm crazy because they want the magic pill. And Eckhart Tolle actually he offered the magic pill, right? And so many of these guys offer the magic pill, as opposed to reason. That's why reason doesn't go over well with people, because it's hard, man. It's hard to think about your life and your values. Introspecting is hard. Now, I think it's very rewarding. I think the hard work actually it ends in something very, very fulfilling. But to get to that point, you got to go through some tough stuff. Just like when you work out, you get to the point of having a good body that's fit and capable of dealing with reality and life. But the discomfort that you're in when you're working out, that's a hard pill for people to swallow. They don't want to go through the discomfort.
Laura says, I'm always trying to think more about my future, but the future scares me, not gonna lie. And now we have Mandy on screen. There she goes.
Hi,
Hello,
I've got a question for you.
copy
Which
that.
value did you have that totally changed over time? Your
Oh my God,
personal values.
I'll Mike, I could start, or you can start, whatever you want.
I once had a value of being feared, and that just totally changed. I do not want to be feared.
I'm really
That's
glad
easy.
you did. You look like a nice guy.
Thank you. You look like a
Yeah,
nice lady.
Thank
he's
you.
he's a, he's a pretty cool dude. I can attest to that. I had a value. I have to say rabid environmentalist at one time in my life. I wrote a letter to the president of the United States. When Reagan was president, I thought he was going to destroy the world when I was a young man. And so I wrote a letter to, I think, who was his Secretary of the Interior? His Secretary of the Interior seemed like a guy that was just going to destroy the earth and club baby seals to death. And so I think I wrote him about the harp seals in the Aleutian Islands, of which I knew nothing about other than the fact that they were cute and furry and had big, 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 big black eyes, and they were adorable, and that these horrible men went out on the ice with clubs with nails at the end of them and clubbed them to death for their for their fur. And what he sent back to me was a very serious response. It was like a 150-page economic study of sealing in the Aleutian Islands and how fundamental and vital it was to the life, the economic life and well-being of the people in the Aleutian Islands. I didn't read it, of course, because I was a very young man, and it was far too complicated for me to get through the graphs and all the crazy stuff. Um, but now I don't hold nature in the raw as an ideal anymore. I like the way human beings adjust nature to make it amenable to us. I've come to discover that nature, in and of itself, is very hostile to life. It's very hostile to us, and our minds have made it beneficent. So we can survive things that other people can't, or other beings in the world can't, because our minds have been able to make the laws of nature work for us. So I like the artificial world that we create. I see value, of course, in untouched nature, but I see a different way, a different means of using that in modern in society than I did when I was younger. So that's one huge value that was a part. I mean, I was a member of like seven different environmental organizations, and I was a member of these clubs, and I wrote letters and signed petitions, and I really thought the end of the world was near. But now I understand that not to be the case, and human thriving is now the most important value to me over that.
Thank you.
I wish you would
Thank
have
you.
said it's nigh. I like when it's nigh instead of near. It's nigh.
It's nigh.
It's
Yeah,
nigh.
that's better. That's better language. It's prettier language, at least.
Do you want to discuss this, Laura? I wish she would come on and discuss it. She says that the future scares her. Um,
Laura, come on out. Laura, can you come
yeah,
out? Will you come out?
yeah, she won't even show us who she really is. She's always got the picture that tricks me into thinking she's here, but she's not.
Yeah, I can't see
See?
it in the gallery because it's too small for my
Oh my
eyes.
goodness. She
Come
says
on out.
she's still sick. She says soy. No, I don't know what soy has to do with it, but either way, um, being afraid of the future, like I gotta say, how do I'm trying to formulate something as I'm sitting here, which is supposed to be my thing as a talk show host. Uh, Fearing something doesn't prevent it from happening, right? So unless you're gonna die, the future is gonna come, right? So then what can you do? So not thinking about it isn't gonna prevent it. What not thinking about it will do is leave you ill prepared for it when it does come.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of my dad. I used to tell him, you got to go to the hospital, get checked for this, that. Oh, no, I don't want to go because he was afraid of what they were going to find out. As if, if he didn't go and they didn't tell him explicitly that it would make the problem, whatever it was, go away. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that. So, and by the way, the more prepared you are for the future, the less scary it becomes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think fearing the future, of course, depends on your context, whether or not that's rational. It's not unusual, and I think it's okay to have those feelings of fear of the future. But what you need to do about that is carry on thinking about how you can best deal with whatever contingency happens upon you in the future. So with me, I'm the opposite, Michael. If I think something may be wrong with my body, I think, well, I'm scared to go to the doctor to find out what this may mean, but I'm going to go to the doctor because I think it's better to find out what it means now instead of 5 years down the line when it's completely untreatable. So, if you are afraid, ask yourself first if the fear is rational. And if it is rational, it shouldn't stop you from moving forward. I mean, there's a reason I think Aristotle said courage is the first virtue because it makes all other virtues possible. There's a degree to which I agree with that because when you're feeling fear and go ahead and pursue life anyway, that makes you a courageous person. And I think you need to exercise your faculty of courage every single day, and it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger the more you do.
So Mandy says, for me, that is the power of now. Things are scary sometimes. Doing it anyway is the best, and you can't do it yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And,
I'm
and
looking.
and also
I'm not
Subby says
seeing
if you don't
anybody.
talk about an issue, it gets bigger and bigger in your head. That's true. I also found this with grief too, folks, which is why I grieve openly and just copiously, because I know that if I bottle it up and hold it in, it becomes something else, and it'll move to a different space in my body. It'll move against somebody in a way that's probably not rational. Letting it out openly and honestly keeps it from becoming something else. Impatience with my wife, or anger at this thing, or whatever, however it decides to morph inside your mind and body if you're not dealing with it.
I'm going to tell a quick story because, well, why not? It does have to do with values, actually. So yesterday I had the show to do at 2:30. It ends at 3. I had to go to Weathersfield, which is about a half hour away because that's where my boss is. So I had to go get my check and go to the bank and cash it. And I was supposed to meet somebody at 4. So I had the show at 2:30. I still had stuff in the dryer. So when I got done with the show at 3, I had to get the stuff out of the dryer, fold it up, and I had to get the dogs put away. And then Subby calls me and asks me if I can bring him a speaker. He says he's in desperate need of this speaker. Now he's in Weathersfield, where I was going anyway, so that's okay. So his wife's house, ex-wife, I mean, it's just about a half hour from here. So I got no gas in the car, so was supposed to stop for gas before I got on the highway. But I said, okay, I'm going to do my damnedest to get Subby this thing. I told him that there's no way I'm getting there by 3:30, but I'll do my best. So I got out, ran. I folded the big stuff. I didn't fold the underwear and the socks. Just threw that in the hamper. Headed out to the car. I took off, no gas. I get to Subby at like 3:38. I'm like, oh man, I made it here at least. And he says, yeah, it turns out the parade or whatever the hell it was. He wanted the music because kids were going to be marching by the house, so he wanted a speaker to play music for him. He said, yeah, it turns out they canceled that for today. So I went through all that for nothing. And I almost ran out of gas, but everything turned out all right. Then you know what happened to me yesterday? I was at this place. We're eating dinner, my friend and I, and he said he had to pick up his daughter at 6 o'clock. And I said, well, why don't you have her hitchhike? I was joking, obviously. And I said, you know what's funny? I said, when I was younger, I used to pick up hitchhikers all the time, right? Every time I saw a hitchhiker, I picked them up because I used to think when I'm walking, I would love for somebody to pick me up. But I told them, I said, you know what's funny? Nobody has ever picked me up when I was hitchhiking. When I tried, no one ever picked me up. So he says to my friend says to the lady next to me, he says, hey, you'd give him a ride if you saw him walking, wouldn't you? She looks at me and she says, well, you're cute and all, but I'm taken. And I'm thinking, lady, nobody asked you. I wasn't making a pass at you. My friend asked if you'd give me a ride if I was walking. Like, I don't know if you think that's my pickup line is to have my friend ask you if you'd pick me up hitchhiking, you're just wrong. That's just my
Wow,
thought. That's my
the things
story
they
from
do in
yesterday.
Connecticut, folks. Hey, Laura says something here, and I want to get your input on this, Michael. Sorry for not being able to speak. Speaking still hurts. She got sick last Sunday, but my personal struggle is due to depression. I never planned to turn 18. Now I'm almost 23 and still don't know my place or goals. Not having a reason to wake up every day makes the future very scary. Sometimes I still don't know if fighting is worth it. I hope this explains my feelings better.
It does, Laura. I'm not, I don't want to be like the advice giver, but I'm going to proceed to give advice anyways. The thing to do then is to find a reason to live, find a purpose in your life, find something that motivates you and drives you. This world, with all its rotten stuff, has so much beauty in it and so much worth living for. You have to find it sometimes, but you can do it. But it takes, like Mark said earlier, with reason, it takes effort. Um, but somewhere inside you, you know what you like, you know what you enjoy. Figure that out, cultivate it, pursue it, and actually plan to have a purposeful life. Actually plan to have a better life. Understand that are deserving of success, you're deserving to flourish, and you're deserving of happiness, and do your best to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean that's very good advice. Super hard to hear when you're depressed, though. I mean,
It is.
uh, it's super hard to hear because I had a friend. I had a friend. My old roommate was clinically depressed, and he would stay in his room all day long. And he wouldn't do his laundry. He'd just go out and buy another shirt or another pair of pants, and he had a pile of laundry, up. I finally had to talk with him. At the time, he was in his mid 30s, and he was still supported by his father, who wasn't a very nice guy because he was sort of mean, and my friend was trying to pursue a career in acting, but he wasn't really pursuing it. He wasn't really pursuing the craft of acting. He was sort of half-assing it around. And so nobody hired him because he wasn't very good. Um, and he was depressed about that. But I think more than anything, he was depressed about the fact that his father at 35 was still supporting him, which is something that, frankly, maybe this is a cultural thing, but I also think this is a man thing. It does something to your self-esteem to be supported by your parents when you're that late in life, almost in your midlife, is discouraging. So I sat him down and I said, my friend, you know what you need? You need purpose. I don't even know if Rand was in my life at the time, but not as intensely as she is now. And I said, you got to get a job, brother. I said, you just have to be. A man supports himself. That's what a man does. A man supports himself. And I don't think you can feel the fullness of being a man without doing that. And he went out and he got a job and actually started to feel better. And Laura, things sort of work like that. In the sense that one good action or virtue beget another and another and another and another, and it can have a snowball effect of self-esteem. And you'll find yourself, when you're taking action, you'll start to realize there are things in your life that are within your control when you don't feel you're in control right now, that are within your control. And once you start to understand what's within your control and acting on it, more reveals itself to you over time. And the more that the more you feel in control of aspects of your life that you are actually in control over, the happier I don't know if you can say happier, but the more your self-esteem will rise, and that will help curb the symptoms of depression. Now, I'm saying that not knowing what the causes of your depression are, if the depression's situational or if it's brain chemistry. You may need to take medication to help you along the course, but the medication, I think, has to be. And I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist, so I'm just saying this as a human being, from one human being to another. You might have to do dual things where you work on finding those values in your life that are important to you, work on courageously acting instead of sitting in fear, and having the proper medication that will enable you to help you free up to do that stuff simultaneously. I don't know. You'll have to talk to a professional about it, because you seriously said you didn't think you were going to be around till you're 18, and you're not sure if you should continue fighting. I can't tell you that life is worth it. I do think life is worth it. Um, um, I personally think life is worth it, and I hope you find the value in life that makes you feel the same way. And we'll do whatever we can as a little family here of self-made souls to help you along the path, if that's possible for us to do. We'll do our best to be a support system for you, and so just know that you have a support system here of folks that are trying to make sense of life and trying to move forward and always become better than we are right now. That's aspirational, and that's good. And the good thing about human aspirations is it's insatiable, right? Humans are always wanting more and more and more, and to be better and better and better. And that's great, right? That's great. It's great that you never stop. She says,
Lou
thank you. Very hard enthusiasm really helps. Okay, good, good. Okay, I'm glad it helps. Go ahead.
Lou has a question here that I don't really understand. Oh, is there a relationship between how high a value is and how difficult it is to achieve? Not necessarily. I don't think so. I don't think there's a necessary
No,
relationship there.
I agree. Not necessarily a relationship. Well, folks, have we exhausted all the questions, Michael?
We have a comment from Katie. She says, I feel that, and it's been rough the last few days because I can't get out, so can only keep myself moving in my apartment. Snow and ice everywhere prevents me from going anywhere. Mandy says, I didn't value my life that much for a long time, but now I have a great life. Things can change for the better, but having help really helps. Awesome.
Very good. And I think I thought, I have to say, I felt the same way about myself in my 20s. I don't know that I valued my life as much as I should have. And in fact, I think I denigrated my life in many ways and was afraid to be good. I was afraid to be the tall poppy that stood up because I would get cut down. That's what I learned early in life, and it took me a long time to shake that, and a lot of thinking to shake it. Not just therapy, which helped a little bit, helped me become aware of that, but it was also philosophy that helped me understand what values I needed to focus on. And the more I focused on those values, the more I achieved what I wanted to achieve, and the better I felt. It sort of took care of itself.
All right.
I
No
think,
hands up, no questions.
well, folks, I hope you got some value out of. Is Mandy frozen? Is that just a? Oh no, she's moving. Okay, there you go. So I'm
She's
glad you
laughing
got some.
too.
Good. I'm glad you guys got some value out of this. The article was definitely a lot of mixed concepts, but it ended sort of on the right track for us, which is thinking about and prioritizing your values is the way to go. If you find the values are in conflict, you have to ask yourself whether or not that value is actually good for your life. And if it is, you just order it in your hierarchy of values and then work accordingly. Um, and you should be fine. So, for all you people out there, I hope you got some value out of this. We'll definitely be here next Saturday. We'll be talking about a different topic, which we will inform you about during the middle of the week, so you can read whatever article or paper it is we're going to be discussing, and have tons of opinions and questions on, I'm sure. Um, and and yeah, we'll see you next time. So it's been fun. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Peace.